All right. Smoke mirrors. Call it what you will. But we know that the media, mainstream, social media, which is mainstream at this point as well, they're interconnected with leftist authoritarianism and leftist government officials. You can say they always have been, but you especially know that now. Okay? And a lot of that is indicative in like what they cover, what they make as an issue. And that's what sucks about social media and really what is deemed as mainstream. No matter if you're watching it on the news set, on your TV, or whether you're consuming it in your phone or your tablet, it doesn't matter what it is. You're seeing it and the information is being forced in front of you. So it puts you under this idea that there's a problem going on that really sometimes either is out of context, and it's controlled, right? Every trending topic, for example, on social media is controlled. It's not authentic. It's not organic. They put it in your face. They wanted it to trend, so they did. Talked about this, for example, with, and this is a little aside from it, but it's the same thing. Texas gets an issue for a few days where, we deal with those freezing issues. We had these rolling blackouts like I did living in Texas. Where, I had power for a little bit, had power off for a little bit. People went without power for a little bit. And stuff like that happens in certain pockets of the country every single year. And it almost never gets covered, or rather it's not covered to the same degree as it was with Texas. California, they're talking about it right now. We just covered it in a segment where the government is trying to get, they're trying to pay people to use freaking generators, man, to avoid what is the inevitable, and that's more blackouts that they get really every year, and they have been for decades, really. So you ask yourself, why do they cover it like that? Like it's just never, the one instance that it happens in Texas. I've been living in Texas my entire life, never happened. Why would they cover it to that degree? Well, it's because of who they could paint as a bad person, or not paint as a bad person, more so they can demonize something that they think is detached from them. In Texas's case, it was its grid. Not attached to the federal government. What we're going to talk about here right now, this is a case yet again. Why? You're seeing every trending topic, all the blue check marks, all the news organizations, the websites, the social media trending topics are centered around two states right now and their rising number of cases. Florida, Texas. Why do you think that is? Florida is a new boogeyman because they don't like DeSantis. He's a new boogeyman because he's done things that are, let's say, off-brand, right? Cuomo goes and kills a bunch of old folk in nursing homes. That's fine. California has mask mandates that don't even fucking work. That's fine, right? Whether what's going on and the rise that we're seeing of cases, right, with this mass testing that we're still doing for some reason. But this rise in number of cases, which is also being replicated in other pockets, definitely throughout the South. But which ones are they focusing on the most? Well, it's the ones with, I believe Louisiana actually has higher rates right now. But either way, which ones are they focusing on the most right now? Of course, they're going to be focusing on Florida for reasons being. Now, they're going to say this was an accident. I don't fucking believe that. I'm sorry. But I just want to cover this story. The CDC amends Florida's COVID-19 numbers after pushback from state officials. Let's read into it just a little bit. The CDC adjusted COVID-19 tracking for the state of Florida on Tuesday as confusion over reporting practices sparked a feud between federal and state authorities. After the CDC website showed record high numbers for Sunday, August the 8th, the Florida Department of Health balked, accusing the agency of folding several days of new cases into one, which is exactly what they did. The gap was significant. The CDC initially claiming there was 28,000 new cases on Sunday, while Florida DOH puts that number at 15,000. So almost, not quite, cutting the bitch in half. On Tuesday, CDC adjusted its number to 19,000 after the initial CDC numbers were released. A deluge of negative press directed at Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ensued, which is what they were obviously trying to do in the first place. I don't for once believe that the CDC did that shit by accident. CDC doesn't even really keep track of numbers, so there's no way that they could have gotten this wrong. Leading Florida DOH and other officials to take to Twitter and decry the error. This is not accurate. Florida follows CDC guidelines, reporting cases Monday through Friday, other holidays. Consequently, each Monday or Tuesday, there will be 2 or 3 days of data reported at the time when data is published. It is attributed evenly. So they say that here are the 3 days. Because they don't take those numbers over those 3 days because they don't work federal government. What happens is they get the pile of the cases going into whatever it is on Monday, and then they just divide them bitches in 3, which still makes for inaccurate, but who is keeping count anyway? It says on Tuesday, the CDC told multiple news outlets that it was working with Florida's officials to correct the inaccuracies. DeSantis press secretary Christina Pushaw told the Post mistakes happen. Oh, man. Y'all give them too much credit. We appreciate that CDC corrected the error yesterday and published the accurate case count. Reports that the CDC and Florida's health department are feuding or disagreeing whatsoever about Florida's COVID numbers are categorically false. Y'all giving them way too much credit. That fake narrative does generate clicks, but the media should prioritize truth and accuracy in reporting, which they don't. They've never done that. So, as just a quick recap, what happened was they presented this information. People that foam at the mouth, news agencies that foam at the mouth because of who it could demonize, jumped on it really, really quick, and it turns out that the numbers were fake. And look, like I said, right now in certain, not even just now, in certain pockets of the country, it's happening overseas. We see what's happening in Japan and what's happening in Israel and all these other countries who are dealing with the same issues, have higher vaccination rates, by the way, are dealing with these same sort of issues, which is really going to force these people to have to revisit what they think this vaccine is doing. Save that for another segment. These folks only focus on the groups or the areas, let's say the geographical area that they think they could demonize. They used to do it with Sweden earlier on in the pandemic, right? Because Sweden didn't do any of like the mask mandates or any of that stuff, and they didn't do lockdowns. So anytime there was an issue with Sweden, the news would cover it. Never mind if, which happened, we had the Belgiums and the Frances and other spots that had more deaths per 100K than what Sweden did. Doesn't matter. They want to focus on Sweden. It's what they're doing right now with Florida. They don't even care about the context. We want to demonize you because you're not prioritizing locking down. You're not prioritizing mask mandates. You're not prioritizing vaccine mandates. Therefore, you're the enemy. And we got to paint your strategy or lack thereof in the most negative light. So in the event that anything happens out of the Texas of the world, out of the Floridas of the world, no matter they got it wrong before with both of those, they are going to jump to it because all this shit's fucking fake. Now with CDC, say it's an accident, whatever. But still, I guess the main conversation is going to be the news agencies and their response to it and being, let's say, irrational with their reporting because they're so itching to demonize an entity. We'll see that out of our own Texas, like Texas Tribune the other day got it very wrong about how many children had been hospitalized. I'm talking they were off by the tens of the thousands. So they made it seem like last week or whatever in this 7-day period. This is coming from, I believe it was the Texas Tribune. They corrected it after all. Hey, Texas, all these people, all these children, and they compiled the entire, I think since of the entire pandemic for the most part, just say months of data, they compiled all of that and got it wrong. And then they corrected it and said, okay, well, it was only X amount of hundred of people, not thousands. So they included so many hospitalizations that didn't happen within that period of time. Oh, but it was a mistake. Shit wasn't a fucking mistake. You got called out on it. You got caught. But unfortunately, the lie, once it travels. And there's not much you can do to reel it back in because we aren't dealing with honest people here. Treat them as such.
You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.